This is the latest update on immigration policy published on May 21st, 2024. I felt it's very important I share this with you because it's with respect to the graduate visa or the post-study work visa route. You know that this particular route has been under scrutiny, and the last time I shared a news with you about Rishi Sunak's plans to scrap the graduate visa route, and he was experiencing some backlash with respect to that. Now, this particular news is saying that Rishi Sunak backtracks plan to restrict graduate visas after cabinet opposition. Now, if you want to find out what he has decided he wants to do and the proposals he wants to put in place with respect to this, please watch this video till the end. Hello everybody, my name is Cynthia. I share information that will help your transition abroad to be as smooth as possible. I share information about settling, working or studying in the UK, US or Canada. If you are interested in any of these countries, please subscribe to this channel. Hit the notification bell so that each time I drop a new video, you know it's time to watch Cynthia Academy. And without wasting time, let's get into this video. This particular report was published by Yahoo News. I will put the link in the description box below so that you can have access to it, read it for yourself, and try and understand what might likely come into play, and you are not shocked by whatever comes up later on. Now, it says that plans for a radical crackdown on graduate visas that allow overseas students to work in the UK for up to 2 years after graduation look set to be abandoned by the Prime Minister after coming up against staunch oppositions from cabinet colleagues. Now, Rishi Sunak had been considering restricting and even scrapping the graduate visa route as a way of reducing migration figures, but he's now expected to opt for a more modest reforms to close loopholes and prevent abuse of the immigration system. So let's just find out what these particular reforms he wants to go put into play. Remember that with respect to all these things, these are proposals. Sometimes they end up seeing the light of the day, sometimes they are not implemented, but you should prepare yourself for things like this. He says that among the measures under consideration is a clampdown on recruitment agents that market British degree courses overseas, with penalties for those who fail to supply the type of students they promise, according to the Financial Times. So they want to crack down on international recruitment agencies, which is fair enough. Remember that they said that they saw some level of abuse of that particular system, and if they feel that this would streamline the type of students that will be admitted into universities, fine and good. He says that foreign students who use the graduate visa route to stay in the UK at the end of their studies could face mandatory English tests, according to the Sun, which also reports that universities and colleges with high dropout rates could lose their license to recruit overseas. So this is really tricky. It means you might need to write IELTS despite the fact that you just completed a master's, and when you completed a master's you passed. Of course, you must have been able to communicate well in English when you passed that particular exam and you've completed your studies, but they want you to write English language test. It doesn't make sense to me. Seriously, it doesn't. The UK universities are standard. Their standards are quite high, and I feel that there's no need to write an IELTS test or whatever, asking them for a particular score. It sounds like a means to make more money for the UK government. I don't know. It's really tricky, but I understand this aspect that universities and colleges with high dropout rates could lose their license to recruit overseas. It means those universities will now become more tight with the way you have to show your proof of fund to come in, so that you don't drop out. Because in my own opinion, one of the main reasons why many people drop out is because they might not be able to meet up with the financial needs of the university, and that's the reason why they drop out. So when universities are under pressure to make sure that their students don't drop out and they don't lose their license, they might put more strict measures so that students will be able to show that they have the proof of fund and they don't drop out. Now, it says that Sunak backed away from more radical proposals to restrict the visa offer after interventions by the Chancellor, that's Jeremy Hunt, the Foreign Secretary Dave Cameron, and the Home Secretary James Cleverly, and the Education Secretary Gillian Keegan, who all argued it would be damaging for universities and the economy. And I totally agree that it will be damaging for the universities and the economy. Announcement on the proposed reform is expected to coincide with the publication on Thursday of the Office of National Statistics quarterly net migration figures, which are expected to remain high. Now, I'm going to share whatever the ONS publishes on Thursday, and also the final agreement, or what Rishi Sunak and the Home Secretary James Cleverly has made, the decision they have made towards this graduate visa. Now, it says that Indian students and alumni in the UK were among those urging Sunak to retain graduate visas and rejecting claims that they are little more than Deliveroo visas that allow overseas students access to low-paid jobs in the gig economy. Well done, Indian students. You guys really did. It's always good to voice out when you have issues like that, so that you don't get along with anything that the government wants to do. Like I always tell people, there are proposals that the UK government makes, and when they announce it out there, it's the reaction of the people that lead them to say, oh, let's implement it, or we don't care. Is this the consequences of implementing this rule? It's our ways what we need. You understand? That's how they communicate. And it's always good when people like this speak up. India sends more students to study in the UK than almost any other country in the world, and they account for more than 40% of all graduate visas. You know, there was this publication by MAC on 14th of May. It states that India is just number one, 40%. Nigeria is the second, which is 11%. And we also have Pakistan, the US in that list. That's of the top 5 people that are using the graduate visa route. Now, it goes further to explain how other universities are actually writing to the Prime Minister, explaining to him that don't go ahead with this particular law you want to implement because it's going to adversely affect them. It says a letter signed by the Vice Chancellors at more than 20 universities across the North, many of them non-Russell Group, urged Sunak to accept the findings of the Migration Advisory Committee, which last week recommended the graduate visa arrangement should be retained in its entirety after a review found no evidence of widespread abuse. So vice chancellors are fighting for this, which is really, really good. Now, it says that in the north of England, the international student cohort from the first academic year in this decade 2020-2021 alone was worth £7.2 billion. Universities are now reporting reductions in applications of as much as 80% in some areas, and that reduction in income will have a catastrophic impact on the region's economy. Now, a government spokesman said, we are committed to attracting the brightest and the best to study at our world-class universities while taking the necessary steps to prevent abuse of our immigration system. We are now considering the Migration Advisory Committee findings and will report in due course. So we are going to wait for this particular report as soon as it drops on Thursday, because they said they're going to announce it alongside that of the ONS, which is the Office of National Statistics, a report, quarterly report. Once they release that particular report, I'll keep you updated on what is happening. And I'm happy to see that Rishi Sunak has backed off from this, because it's near suicidal on universities for that graduate visa route to be scrapped. It is just not a good approach towards bringing down net migration. I'll keep you updated. I hope you benefited from this news and it will lift your hopes up a little. Let's just keep waiting for the next news. I'll see you in my next video. Bye-bye.